on to the next panel of the day, ladies and gentlemen, which is going to be about the Sector Skill Council CEO panel, where we're going to discuss about developing a successful skill development strategy.
Thank you, ma'am, and good evening, everyone. Before we start this panel, do you want to play a game? Yeah, because it's on Sector Skill Council, and I feel it's a very important topic which everybody should listen to and inherit. So do you want to play a game? How many want to play a game? Raise your hands. Okay, we'll play a simple game, okay? Shall we? With the permission of the panel? So when I say, okay, let's stand up. Let's stand up. Come on, stand up. When I say clap, what do? So when I say stop, what do? You stop. When I say clap, now let's say I say stop, and then you have to clap. And when I say clap, you have to stop. Okay? All in? All awake? Stop. Clap. Clap. Somebody still sleeping? Okay. Okay. Clap. Okay, stop. 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 Okay, guys. So thank you. Thank you for this time. This is Mohit Soni from Media and Entertainment Skills Council, and I have my wonderful friends with me. We are all from the skilling ecosystem, and I'm sure all of us have been hearing a lot of stories and a lot of predictions about how the country is going to be shaping up over the next 10 years, 20 years. We feel that today, while everybody has been talking about the new education policy, don't worry, we'll finish before that. So while everybody has been talking about the new education policy, the National Credit Framework, and most of us have been talking about technology and the new enablers which are coming in, I feel this session will take you to a deep dive insight on understanding how possibly the technology and the infrastructure which the country is aiming to build up can be utilized by the seasoned professionals and the experts who we create in this process of skilling. So without wasting much of the time, I will directly move on to our panelists and shoot one question to each of you and give you 2 minutes, 3 minutes to answer. And then we will try to rotate this 3 times. In between, if you have any comments, any suggestions, if you would like to raise up your hands, please do raise up your hands and we'll try to answer you in between. So, Swapna ma'am, I'll start with you. This country is known as country of talent, country of youth, and we envisage and we believe that we are going to be the skill capital for the world. How do you see your sector in prima facie working towards the future trends, and where do you see today that the major skills are required over the next 5 years?
Thank you for the question. Am I audible? Our Sector Skill Council deals with 2 varied subsectors. One is the organized mill sector, where you have people like Raymond, Siaram, Vardhaman, and the Trident, and other is the unorganized handloom sector. So both of them would require different approaches, of course. In the next 5 years, I see that things are going to shift from conventional textiles, that is the textiles as we know, which are incorporated in apparel, made up and home furnishings, which is the fashion part of the textiles, moving on towards the functional textiles, which is protective textiles, medical textiles, textiles used in construction, geotextiles, for reinforcing of dams and bridges and other things. So I see moving from conventional to technical textiles, that is one thing. And the second thing is the revival of the handloom sector, the unique craft which we had, and the sellability or marketability. We have unique talent, but there are people who know it, but that it exists and they want it, but the gap and the marketing for it to reach the right place. Recycling of textiles is also going to be a big thing, sustainable, eco-friendly, green textiles including the technical textiles we use in aeroplanes, automobile, construction. How do we recycle that? A lot of that dumping is going to be in India, so that talent is required. And also the multidisciplinary approach, use of data science, AI, ML, everything in these fields is what is my perception. We have already started developing some courses, and we would be ready to support the ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Swapna ma'am. Arpitji, your comments on how do you see green jobs? We have been hearing about blue collar jobs, white collar jobs, but green jobs is a very new terminology for people to understand. I think it will be essential that before you talk about the skill gap in your sector, for people to understand what green jobs is and how do you think you as a council is going to be creating a differentiation in the ecosystem.
Sure. So, good evening, everyone. I would first of all like to thank NSDC and the other organizers for inviting me here and giving me an opportunity to interact and share my thoughts. So, when we are talking about green jobs, ILO defines green jobs as those jobs which have a direct and positive impact on the environment. So, this is a very broader definition. But if you deep down a little bit, so I would like to take you back to the India's commitment to the nationally determined contributions, where India has pledged, as a country, we have pledged that we would reduce our 1 billion tons of carbon emissions by 2030. We would have a 50% electricity demand from renewable energy sources. India would have a non-fossil fuel target of around 500 gigawatts by 2030, and India would be net zero by 2070. So, keeping in view that the National Green Hydrogen Mission has been recently launched, which would cater to creation of around 6 lakh jobs in the technical sector, and keeping in view that there is a national solar mission also, which has been launched by the government of India way back 5 years, 5 years back. So this is going to create a lot of jobs particularly in the renewable energy space and the green hydrogen sector. And as a sector scale council, we are completely prepared in the solar as well as in the green hydrogen sector, because we have created multiple qualifications, we have created content, we have affiliated training institutions, and we are seeing that there's a huge demand coming from the side of the industry in technical as well as non-technical kind of job roles, job profiles. So we as an organization, we are completely prepared towards it. Thank you.
So wonderful to hear that. And I'm sure when we talk about the green jobs, which is going to be creating a new remarkable moment in the country, there's a lot of demand which comes in to sustain each of us and keep us cool and free from all the worries. And that's where I think Rajan sir comes in with his special council on travel and tourism. Rajan sir, I see that, this time when we look at the industry of travel and in particular, we have seen not just the international market looking back to India in terms of hoping out that they will get some peaceful, some really brilliant spaces to chill out. But the country on its own is really, really making a big change in this environment. How do you see this as for your sector? And how prepared are we to handle the global pressure which is going to be there on India now, since everybody is aiming at India to be the best destination for them?
Thanks, Mohit. Hi, everyone. So, interesting question, because I think if I rewind a little bit, during COVID, pre-COVID, our sector, hospitality, travel, tourism, quick service restaurants, facility management, and cruise liner, these are the 5 verticals that we take care of. I think every vertical was doing very well. Comes COVID, everything came to a standstill. The world came to a standstill. And nobody actually realized that. And I think our sector was one of the first ones to go down and under, and perhaps the last to recover. Having said that, I think not just green shoots, there's a full forest on now. During COVID, all old bets were off. That famous saying of survival of the fittest went out of the window. It was survival of the quickest. People who adapted themselves moved ahead. I think in today's scenario, there's a huge opportunity. We did a recent pan-India skill gap study through Price Waterhouse. We covered 20 states, 6 union territories, 10,000 youth, 500 employers. And a couple of things that came up were that between now and 2028, we'll require 30 lakh more jobs in this sector. What came out very clearly was the fact that current workforce, only 1% out of the total current workforce had skill or was recognized for skill. So given that sort of a situation, and we all know, I mean, it's not surprising that entire India, the number of room nights for 4-star, 5-star category, all put together is less than what New York City has. So that's the scope we are looking at. Now, given those sort of scenarios, I think a couple of things we did was we re-looked at all our qualifications, because the hospitality industry, much as a lot of other industries, changed. The way we worked, a lot of jobs became redundant, a lot of them were new jobs, a lot of them got merged into multitasking. So we actually re-looked at our qualifications. For example, we added 19 new job roles in adventure tourism. I mean, talking about domestic tourism and the way to. So we get up. I think we are extremely fortunate as a country to have a diversity in terms of geography, climate, eating habits, and all of that. So I think a huge opportunity for us. I can go on and on. I'm very passionate, but I'll stop here because there's a massive opportunity as we look at our sector.
Thank you, Rajan sir. So friends, for your just a small insight, sector skill councils are primarily industry-led bodies, and they are the ones who develop something called as qualifications, which becomes the national repository for any training institution to be undertaking training programs. They also work towards serving up and managing up the skill gaps which are in the requirement by the country, and also see the global trends. There are 36 sector skill councils which operates under the purview of National Skill Development Corporation, and we all operate under the umbrella of or under the aegis of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So today, sector skill councils, in particular, when you see from textile, from travel and tourism, and from Arpit Sabs, you will see green jobs. Primarily, all of the sector councils, including me from Media and Entertainment Skills Council, we work to see that we could map up to what industry requirements are, and see that we match the talent which can possibly create the new era of revolution for the Indian market today. While catering to the domestic needs, we do cater to a lot of international requirements. And when I talk about international requirements, certainly I'll have to come back to you, Swapna ma'am, and understand that, in this era of technological advancements, we see that the world is changing very rapidly. And no sector is untouched with these technological advancements. How do you see that in your sector primarily at this point of time? And my second question, including this, would be that, we all understand that today we are in an ecosystem where we have to also undertake a lot of trainings in higher education system, in school education system. How do you see both combined together, the integration of technology in the formal education space and combining the skilling system of ours? How do you see that, and what possibilities do you see over the next 5 years for merging this out?
Thank you, Mohit, for that question. So as I told you earlier that there are two different sectors, and we see a lot of movement from the conventional to the technical textiles. For example, maybe 5-10 years back, when we go to US or UK, we would see shirts made in India being sold there. But now in our Delhi malls, we can see shirts made in Bangladesh, or Indonesia available here. So conventional textiles is slowly and steadily moving towards the Southeast Asian countries for various reasons, and India is strengthening its foothold on technical textiles, which was earlier not there. Not many people know that the cars and aeroplanes these days are made of textiles which are molded in resins instead of the heavy metals which we used to use earlier. We imported a lot of those things, including our defense equipment, automobile, as well as parachutes, bulletproof jackets. Now we are making this. The government has, of course, any skilling or any advancement or any change would require government support. Therefore, there is a production linked incentive. There are textile parks being opened, around 36 of them at various places in the country to strengthen this. There is a national technical textile mission which is launched by the Ministry of Textiles with a 400 crore budget for various sectors like infrastructure development, production, and education and skilling being one of them, where the educational institutions are being funded to create the equipment and infrastructure which was earlier not there, and sector skill councils and TRAs to develop the courses and also to facilitate the training, including that of the faculty or the trainer who will train them. And there is also a scholarship for students for up to 20,000 per month if your industry employs them as an intern or apprenticeship. So that scholarship they can get provided they work on a project which is between the institute and the industry as per requirement of the industry, and the sector skill council is an implementing agency. So that is one thing. As far as the handloom sector is concerned, we are focusing on creating entrepreneurs. So like we have done things like in a class, the whole class becomes a producer company with few people as managers, directors, and the rest of them as members. And then they create a niche product. For example, handloom convocation gowns for the universities, which has a higher price. And then they bid and they sell it to that. So we've reached places where the President of India has worn the gowns created by these candidates. So entrepreneurship and strengthening of the cluster, creating niche products which cater to the modern client, an urban client for the handloom sector, and strengthening the technical textile, also strengthening the supply chain management, because a lot of it is unorganized, so it's very disrupted. So use of AI and blockchain in strengthening the supply chain as well as traceability. So if you are wearing something, whether this was made on handloom or powerloom or whether it's a GI tag, that plus use of recycling also. So we are working on these things. Thank you.
That sounds amazing. Arpitji, while Swapna ma'am has been talking about the new technologies in a sector primarily, my second question, which was primarily to understand how are we going to be integrating ourselves in the higher education and the school education space with NEP and NCRF being laid out. I wish to understand, if you can possibly highlight some views of how your council is incorporating it, and where do you see the possibilities for not just your council, but even the entire ecosystem when it comes to from the skilling side?
Sure, Mohitji. I would also like to give a small perspective, maybe highlight a small, kind of a thought on the international collaborations, along with, of course, what we are doing as a sector skill council in the, in the NEP space. So when we talk about international collaborations in the area of renewable energy or waste management or green hydrogen, so one very important factor is that, after the Paris Agreement, during the COP26 Conference of Parties, which was held at Glasgow, it was clearly indicated that as a country, we would achieve all these targets, the nationally determined contributions, and we would reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. But in exchange, we would like to have two things from the international community. One is the technology transfer, and the second is the finance. So you see that the technology transfer is happening. We are not manufacturing electrolyzers as on date. We are not manufacturing desalination plants. We are not solar to an extent. Yes, the manufacturing has started, but a lot of what I mean to say is a lot of technology transfer can be seen in the country. which is opening up a lot of international avenues for our individuals, whether they are in schools, colleges, or they are professionals. The second thing I would like to tell you is that we were very successful in collaborating with the German Solar Association, which is BSW Solar, because of high demand of technicians in countries like Australia and Germany. This agreement was signed and it was mutually decided that 2,000 solar technicians from India would be upskilled and sent to Germany. Of course, that did not take up very well because a lot of immigration laws were changed in the last 2 years. So these things can be seen, can be felt, and we can see international participation of many companies like Homi Hydrogen, or not just domestic companies, playing into action. The second thing is that as a sector skill council, we would definitely are engaging with at the school and at the ITI level, because when we talk about STEM education and women participation in the workforce, so globally we can see that it's less than 15% of women which are in the STEM education, and they are a part of the renewable energy sector. So schools and colleges are a medium where when vocational skills are introduced, then it brings a lot of attention at the school level only, that the chances of picking up science as a subject after 10th class, it increases a lot. So we have submitted a 1-year curriculum at Passive Bhopal, which has been accepted. And we run many programs at the universities and the college level, which are included in their semester system, and they are offered credits. So this is how we are engaging at the international and at the domestic level, in the country. Thank you.
Sounds amazing. Yeah, ma'am, you have
So
something to say?
just to add to him, it's applicable to all the sector skill councils as well as us. When we prepare a course, that course is vetted by the industry that these are the competencies required. When that course is supposed to be implemented in a school or a college, we also have a vetting by the school or the college board also. For example, if it is to be implemented at the school level, we did have meetings with CBSE, NIOS and MIOS and other things to see whether it fits in their curriculum with respect to the hours and competency. Similarly, the UGC, BVOC and BTech and other which semester it will be taught. So the institutes are also vetting, including how many lectures it will be, practicals, kahan honge, kaise honge, industry mein kaise jayenge. So there is a seamless integration between education and industry in the skilling for all these sector skill councils.
School education space, if any, possibly can connect with sector councils and see that the algorithms of taking the next level of advancements towards the new education policy and benchmarking it with the National Credit Framework could be something which can be an easy churn out for you to look at. This will not just increase the chances of your employability of candidates who are aspiring with you, but also will betterment in the form of making those candidates prepare for something which is more futuristic and more advanced in nature. While going on to the next question with Rajan Saab, I feel, everybody has been looking at skilling as the next shape. I remember when I did my BCom, my parents had no expectations of me finding a job. But the moment I completed a 3-month tele program, everybody was hunting on me that when are you getting a job? So I think 3 years versus 3 months, that's the kind of challenge we particularly as a skilling ecosystem face today. There are a lot of support schemes which the government runs, and I feel it's very important for people to understand today which are some of the flagship schemes which you may like to highlight upon, which can benefit the candidates in primarily also the employers through some apprenticeship model or the entire ecosystem. So possibly some of those areas, if you may highlight, I think they'll be more aspiring for people to understand today and see how they could associate with NSDC, with sector scale councils.
Thanks. So a couple of things, about 15, 20 years ago when I moved from banking and financial services into the hospitality sector, my father said, "Kya khansama banne ja rahe ho?" And between then and now, I think lots has moved in our sector. So just to tell you, you spoke about technology. I mean, people ask me, what business are you in? And I'm very proud to say I'm in the business of customer service. And a lot of us out here are. But the point is that when you're talking about hospitality, and I can talk about my sector. No matter how much technology, and there's a lot of technology which is coming, whether it is artificial intelligence, customer data, eco-friendly, sustainability, and so on and so forth. I think a lot of stuff which we are doing actually generates from the fact that there is that human touch which will always remain there. And from that point of view, I think in this industry, I feel that, we are a little less complicated. You can start off from wherever and reach wherever. To give you an idea just now about, you spoke about university, and I'll come to the programs. We today have more than 1,000 training centers across the country where we actually mobilize students for the short-term trainings, which could vary between 3 months and 9 months. And these are kids, whether it's housekeeping or cooking or patisserie or bakery, barman, front office, whatever, travel, tourism, etc. The issue is that unlike a lot of other countries, you see Korea, you see Germany, you see European countries, where skilling is huge. I mean, over 80%, 90% people do skilling. They don't go to universities. In India, it's pretty much a stigma. Basically, university to karo. It's a different thing that university graduation ke baad you're nowhere today. But if you land up doing skilling, it's changing. So a lot of skilling stuff is coming up. So one is our training centers where we do short-term training. The other is that we've also tied up with universities where we run these BWalk programs, which could be 3 to 4 years. And these are multi-entry, multi-exit programs. So whether you get a degree or a certification, etc., depending on when you join. Pretty much like the Singapores of the world and the other European countries, which is helping our own youth. I think one of the things that we got to understand within our skilling ecosystem is that when you mobilize kids, they have to have the right attitude and aptitude. And I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I can skill a person if he or she has an attitude. A lot of people we pick up from B category, C category towns, hospitality for them is what they've seen in Bollywood, all the bells and whistles. When you actually come and do work back of the house, work double shifts, night shifts, etc., it's very tough. So we need to see the aptitude, only then can I train a person. If the person is not tuned to that sort of a life, it's not going to work. So that. When we talk about schemes, consciously 5 years ago in Tourism and Hospitality Skill Council, over 60% of my funding came from Central Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vigyan Yojana, like all of us. Today, less than 10% comes from there. The others come from things like direct state engagement, school boards. We get the fundings. We have also now got, I'm a firm believer that there are no free lunches. If you offer something free, chances are they'll drop out. So we've now got industry. See, the government created a platform of skills and skills ecosystem. But equally, the industry has to come forward. So I'm going back to over 2,500 of my industry partners to say, for example, we'll do a recruit, train, deploy method. Marriott Rishikesh was opening up. They needed 30 housekeeping, 5 chefs, barmen, etc. We mobilized local people. We got Marriott to train, interview them before they were trained on the basic aptitude. We then trained them on our authorized skills and qualifications. Once we trained them and certified them, Marriott interviewed them and then absorbed them and paid us 2 months after they worked. So there was consistency from the employer point of view and from the student point of view. So I think these are some of the game changers that we are bringing into it. The kid also put his heart and soul into it because he or she was getting a brand like Marriott, and I'm giving just one example. And from the employer point of view, it wasn't a 10 days somebody's come and worked, didn't like the environment because they had already got used to the environment and they moved it. The other very important thing is apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is mandated, but how many organizations are fully utilizing it? And with apprenticeship, you're building a ready pipeline for students who can actually, once they finish the apprenticeship, they are up and running. So these are, but industry involvement to make skill ecosystem powerful is extremely important.
Thank you, Rajan Saab. For those of you who have been hearing that we have 1,000 centers by Rajan Saab, sector skill councils are also awarding bodies. We accredit and affiliate the network of training institutions across the country. And for that, we operate under the purview of National Council for Vocational Education and Training. We call it as NCVET. I think while we may come to close of this session as time is short, I think some of most crucial and important websites which all of you should make a note of. And this will be something which I am sure if you open and spend 10 minutes on each of these URLs which I'm going to share with you, might give you a new transformation to think and understand what ways the skilling ecosystem is now moving on and what ways the government is supporting and building up India as the next capital for the world. So first and foremost, the website of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, which is msde.gov.in, is one website which all of you should visit through. Second is National Skill Development Corporation, which is nsdcindia.org. And friends, while I am talking about these two websites, the third one is the most critical because it takes you from a journey of start to an end. And it has been a conceptualized website which has been there in place after a due research of over 2 years more, which is Skill India Digital Hub. So skillindiadigital.gov.in is a website which I feel if all of you could scroll through, this will give you not just to understand the opportunities which lie in the ecosystem, but also give you a lot of holistic approach to check on the new curriculums, the new programs and the new modes which are possibly coming in. So I feel after you look at these three websites, you will be able to understand what each of us are contributing to and where all of us are trying to placehold ourselves. But I think first and the foremost, which is important, is that we have to make skills aspirational. Without that, nothing is going to move. And each of us, when we are born, we are talented, we are skilled. So it's not something which we have to identify and nurture in you. That is already existing. Only thing which we have to do is groom up your skills. So I think that's all from my side. And that's the session which we may like to conclude upon, maybe with a line of thanks from all of us. But if there are any questions for the next 2-3 minutes, any questions from anybody, we would be more than happy to answer it. So I open the forum for questions if there are any. Yes, sir, please.
See, my name is Pankaj Gupta, and I'm currently working with the OP Jindal Global University. We are not in the skill at this moment, but our Chancellor has already committed he'll be creating a world-class skill university in Kurukshetra very soon. My question is that many times when we talk about skills, we only talk about doing and having. You do this, train somehow and put it there. But we're not talking about the being part. That are they being responsible? Are they being caring? Are they being honest? So that kind of, some people talk about it more like a skill kind of a development or maybe soft skill kind of a thing. But in our India, there has been a way how you create a being first. And from there, the right doing is happening and the right having is also happening. And that model has been very well captured by Mr. Shrikant Datar, who is the current Dean of Harvard Business School, when he wrote a book like Rethinking MBA. And secondly, about the skill also, we do not do that kind of a basic test, who is having the passion, ability, and then you train the person according to that. Like anybody coming, you treat somebody and some people are able to do a good job, some are not able to do a good job. So that was my thing, that do you feel that these are relevant issues? And if yes, then how you want to handle that? So this is my question.
Any of you like to answer it?
Thank you for that very valid question. As has already been conveyed, that sector skill councils create courses or curriculums which are standard, which are vetted by the industry. And in that industry, in that course, there are various components. So components are related to, broadly, if I say, 3 things. One is the competency, which is the performance criteria, which you have to do. Now that do could be either hard skills, you mold something, make something, or soft skills, that is you research, analyze, observe, present, those things. The second part is the knowledge and understanding to be able to do that thing, which also includes the technical part and also the ethical part, and the generic skills which are common for all the job roles, not just the core. And then there are employability skills, where your integrity and other things will also come, which are common across the sector skill councils. So a course curriculum would have component of doing and being, both vetted by the industry. There is a pre-assessment which happens before the candidate is taken into a course. If the candidate already has experience of certain years, he can go into RPL, which is recognition of prior learning, or RPL plus bridge course means the national standard is here and I fall here. So that bridge course is given. So we have a pre-screening based on the skill gap that training is decided. Then we have a bridge course which could be 30, 80, 90, 120, depending on those hours. And of course, building the ethical or skills of being, which you are saying, has to be incorporated right from the school level and also at the family level. So the way the sector skill councils are contributing is even at the school level. It starts from class 6th, where that change happens in the child, where he's from an innocent child to he starts learning things of the world. So from 6th onwards it starts, and everywhere bits and pieces till he graduates, postgraduates or PhD. These components are there if they are implemented in true sense by whoever is implementing, the skill training partner, that is the industry, or the education partner. And that is what the sector skill council are. We also monitor whether the training is going on as per the definition or not. So the being part is a long-term process. So it's covered in bits and pieces, but yes, it's covered. So I'll just tell you one example. One professor from India was accompanying another professor from Japan. They were driving a car. The Japanese professors were driving the car. और रेड लाइट आ गया, तो रेड लाइट में उन्होंने रोक दिया. रात के कुछ 12-1 बजे होंगे, कोई भी नहीं था. तो the Indian professor said, "Why are you stopping?" He said, "There's a red light." So, but nobody is there. Why don't you just? And the answer he gave was, "What if a child is watching?" We don't think on that. हम खुद ही कहते हैं, बोल दो पापा घर में नहीं है. तो सारा दारोमदार आप ट्रेनिंग प्रोवाइडर और कॉलेज और स्कूल पर मत डालिए. और हम तो ले ही रहे हैं रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, बट सब लोग घर में भी जिम्मेदारी लें. वो बीइंग पार्ट का तो ज़रूर होएगा. एक ज़माने में वी वर नोन फॉर दिस. थैंक यू.
So friends, thank you. I think we are short of time, and if there are any questions in person, we are going to be off the stage in next 2 seconds. Then you guys can come over and we can answer whatever the best we could. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being such a lovely audience.